No matter how incredible you are or how many amazing things you do in your life, the unfortunate reality is that you cannot please everybody. This is something that some superheroes are acutely aware of. Welcome to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Andrew Boyd, and today we will be looking at the top 10 most hated superheroes. To be clear, we are approaching this from an in-universe perspective, so characters who a lot of other characters hate, not characters who the fans tend to dislike. With that said, let's dive in. Number 10, Batman. In real life, almost everybody loves Batman. He's probably the most popular superhero in the mainstream at this time, with only maybe Spider-Man and Iron Man being as beloved at the moment. In the world of the comics, people tend to have a much more mixed reaction to the Dark Knight. Typically, the people of Gotham are very split on the Batman issue, with a lot of civilians and even the non-corrupt cops he works with having resentment for having to work with a vigilante. The thing I want to focus on more so is the effect he has on other superheroes that he works with. Due to his rather cold and gruff exterior, a lot of his teammates aren't aware of his soft, gooey interior and have trouble connecting with the loner who has like a dozen kids. Adding to this issue is the fact that Batman is always making elaborate plans to take them out in case they go rogue. This isn't a bad idea, and it has served him well, but that doesn't mean it hasn't stirred resentments from his fellow Justice Leaguers, especially after these plans were stolen by Ra's al Ghul and used against the team in the Tower of Babel arc. Some of the people who hate Batman the most are Green Arrow and the guy Gardner Green Lantern. Number 9, Booster Gold. Michael Carter was an ordinary young man from Gotham City in the 25th century who became a college football star. Once he was caught throwing games for money, he was expelled and sent to prison. Upon his release, the only job he could get was as a security guard in a museum. He was inspired by an exhibit on 21st century superheroes and stole a supersuit and a Legion of Superheroes flight ring and went back in time to become a superhero. He is notable for being a shameless sellout who would frequently engage in brand endorsements to make money and feed his massive ego. Due to him being a hero for all the wrong reasons, a lot of the other people in the DC universe, civilian and hero alike, really look down on Booster for his frivolity and meritless ego. He has a few good friends, such as the Ted Kord Blue Beetle, and over the years he has earned a bit more respect from his peers, but he is certainly not held in the same regard as someone like Superman. Number 8, Northstar. Northstar and Aurora are mutant twins who have the same powers of super speed. Jean-Marie and Jean-Paul Barbier were separated early in life when their parents died in a car accident. Jean-Paul ended up in foster homes before eventually becoming an Olympic skier, while Jean-Marie ended up at a strict Catholic girls' boarding school, with the two being unaware of the other's existence until they were recruited by Alpha Flight. Northstar joined the team in order to spend more time with his sister, but otherwise had no interest in superheroics or his teammates. He would frequently insult his teammates to their faces, thinking himself above them, which led pretty much every other member on the team to dislike him, with him getting in frequent physical fights with Sasquatch. The only member of this team who could put up with him was his sister, and after he implied that she was a loose woman for having a relationship with Sasquatch, she hated her brother too, refusing to interact with him or even speak to him unless they were in the field and needed to strategize. They eventually patched things up and Northstar mellowed out a bit once he came out of the closet, but he is still quite a rude jerk sometimes. But hey, he's Quebecois, what do you expect? Number 7, Spider-Man. Spider-Man has a notoriously hard time with his public image. Despite always trying to do the right thing, a large portion of New York still calls him a menace and calls for his arrest. A lot of this, of course, is due to J. Jonah Jameson, who has hated the webbed wall crawler since almost his very first appearance, and has used the Daily Bugle to spin every story that comes his way about Spidey to somehow be his fault in branding him a public menace. Due to this campaign, a lot of people assume the worst of Spider-Man and refuse to give him the benefit of the doubt. To be fair, there are a lot of people who also really like Spider-Man, with him having had quite a few times where the public has rallied around him and celebrated his heroism. This can be easy to forget for Spidey, as the people who like him tend to be more relaxed with their appreciation, whereas the Spider-Man haters are so loud in their distaste that it makes it sound as though everyone in New York hates the hero. Number 6, Guy Gardner. Earth's third Green Lantern, introduced in Green Lantern Volume 2, number 59, Guy Gardner is known just as much for being an arrogant jerk as he is for his truly bizarre haircut. Guy grew up in a cruel household, never feeling as close to his parents as his siblings did. This is likely why he has allowed his position as a Green Lantern to inflate his ego so much. Despite having the same powers as the other Green Lanterns, this doesn't stop him from expressing his perceived superiority. This inflated sense of self often makes him clash with other superheroes in the Justice League, most notably Batman. This conflict came to a head in Justice League number 5, when Guy challenged Batman to a fight, even claiming that he could beat the Caped Crusader without the use of his Green Lantern ring. To the delight of every other League member in attendance, this resulted in Batman knocking Guy unconscious with one punch to the face. Despite Guy having earned the respect of other heroes in the years since, he still rubs a lot of people the wrong way due to his ego and his attitude. Number 5. Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff has had a lot of haters from all sides over the years. As a character who we believed was a mutant for much of her history, she faces a lot of hatred and prejudice from the average citizens of Earth, which wasn't helped by her joining an organization that called itself the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. She eventually switched teams and became an Avenger, but suffered a real PR disaster after she changed reality so that mutants were the majority and Magneto was in charge. When that didn't pan out, she took away the powers of the vast majority of mutants in the infamous M-Day story, making her a pariah in the mutant community. The mutant community hates Scarlet Witch so much that they have a ceremony called the Crucible dedicated to passing down stories about how much Wanda sucks. Wanda has been dealt an awful lot of awful hands over the years and is a sympathetic character, but this is one hero who I totally get the in-universe hate for. Number 4. Deadpool. Deadpool is a character who is beloved by fans, but not by the other characters in his book. Due to his horrid appearance, many people will throw up or run away at the mere sight of him. He is ultra-violent, which makes civilians afraid of him. He has a really warped sense of humor, which makes the other superheroes want to avoid him out of annoyance. And his tendency to kill people makes a lot of the less morally flexible heroes avoid him. He is also apparently really smelly, which I'm sure doesn't help, but despite this, he does long for connection, having dreams of joining the Avengers or the X-Men, but constantly being rejected by the teams. For years, he had a rather one-sided bromance with Spider-Man, with Spidey having no interest in hanging out with someone he considered a total psycho. However, after much persistence, he has bonded with Spider-Man, having even gotten each other matching sweaters for Christmas and referring to themselves as bad besties for life. It's a shame that few other heroes have the patience to get to know Deadpool that Spider-Man was able to muster. Number 3. The Comedian. None of the vigilantes featured in Alan Moore's Watchmen are exactly beloved figures in the public eye. Due to their violence and lack of accountability, the general public protested their existence, and they were eventually outlawed. But even among the Watchmen, there was one member who was despised by almost everyone he came across. Edward Blake, aka the Comedian. He started his crime-fighting career at 16, although he would sometimes beat the victims of the crime as well as the perpetrators. While part of the superhero team the Minutemen, he forced himself on fellow teammate Silk Spectre, causing him to be attacked by another Minuteman named Hooded Justice. He was banned from the group for his actions, but Hooded Justice soon disappeared, with the implication being that the Comedian was responsible. He didn't make any friends on his new team, the Crime Busters, when he set the meeting's visual aids on fire and told everyone that the team was a joke. He fought in the Vietnam War, where he didn't do anything that wasn't needlessly cruel, even ending the life of a pregnant woman who was carrying his child. Upon his return to the States, he unleashed his fury on a group of protesters, often opening fire on crowds with rubber bullets with little provocation. He was such a piece of work that even once he was thrown out of his window and killed, most of the people who knew him were surprised, but not exactly sad. Number 2. The X-Men. The X-Men are a team of mutants who work together to save the planet, as well as protect their kind while fostering a better relationship with humanity. Unfortunately, mutant kind is unreasonably hated by much of humanity in the Marvel Universe. It's hard to say exactly why this is. After all, prejudice rarely makes sense, but it could be that the humans feel threatened by the fact that mutants are the next step in evolution, and they fear that they will be replaced if they don't stand up to them. It could just be a fear of people who are different. Either way, the X-Men's mutanthood results in them being hated by large portions of humanity. no matter how much good they try to do. A really good example of this is what happens to Goldballs in Uncanny X-Men Volume 3, number 35. He defeats a villain using his power to shoot gold balls, and he becomes a media sensation, getting booked on The Tonight Show and appearing on magazine covers, but once the public finds out he's a mutant, he is hated and attacked by the very people who were cheering him on. Number 1. The Hulk. Ever since he was pelted by gamma rays, Bruce Banner has had the unfortunate condition of transforming into a giant green monster whenever he becomes angry or outraged. When in his Hulk form, the Jade Giant has a tendency to cause a lot of destruction during his emotional outbursts. He will take out a building no problem, but what the people of the Marvel Universe often fail to realize is that he just wants to be left alone. Hulk goes out of his way not to kill civilians during his rampages and fights, with him having apparently been able to avoid them for the most part. But being a giant angry monster, the people are still very afraid of him, and the damage he has caused giving them a somewhat justifiable reason for hating Hulk. There have been times where public opinion has come around on him, such as when he was granted a full pardon and even given a parade, but it is never long before the crowd turns on him and sends the military after him in an attempt to destroy him. Are there any other superheroes who you think should have made this list? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe for more Top 10 Nerd.